Good morning and welcome back to Dr. Kim's Going Live. My name is Lara. I help Dr. Kim with his social media, and I've been a part of the Awesome Marriage team since January. Dr. Kim, how are you?
I am good. I'm really good. Nice day, and yeah, it's you do a great job with social media. You're kind of my social media guru,
I try. I know the weather is gorgeous here. We've had great weather the last 2 days.
which is
It's really
really nice. Yeah, I went out this morning after I worked out to bring the trash cans in. I guess that's what I was doing, and God, it was so nice. It was like a fall morning, and here we
I
are,
know.
third of all. That's kind of fun.
I know. Too bad we can't have those days every day.
Be nice,
I
and we
know.
take them for granted, probably though.
We would. Well,
I,
today on
I,
Yeah, we definitely would. Well, today on
yeah,
the show, we're going to be discussing our Awesome Marriage resource. And this month's resource is the Family Prayer Challenge. This challenge, you guys, it's so neat. It's so fun. It's the Family Prayer Challenge was written by Lindsay Few, who produces the Awesome Marriage podcast and has also written multiple other podcasts. So whether you're a family of 2 or 20, we invite you to try this challenge. Make short time of prayer together a part of every weekday for the next month. Dr. Kim, what do you think about this challenge?
I love it. We do talk a lot about prayer because I think it's important, and I think a lot of things happen in prayer. One, I think it helps us get closer to God, and it helps us realize He really cares. When you pray about something, you see God's involved, and that doesn't mean He's going to answer every prayer exactly like we want us, but I think He answers every prayer. Sometimes we see it at different times in different ways, but it strengthens that relationship with Him and helps us know the care. And then we involve that with our spouse and our kids. It just brings a unity in a family that I think God's designed to start with.
Oh, absolutely. And I saw something the other day on Instagram and it said, we always ask God for all of these things, but we sometimes forget to come back and thank Him for when we actually receive those things. And I think that this resource is just a great reminder to do that.
I think we do. I think it's so often, if we ask a prayer and we don't let God answer the way we want, we blame God, and then when He answers it, we just think,
We
oh,
just, oh,
we just go on. Yeah, I agree.
yeah, and it's sad and it's
Yeah,
unfortunate. I think instilling, something like that in a younger child is so important to do. So you remember it, as you're growing up, you think about it every time you pray. And if you do see something happen that you prayed for last week, you're like, wow, thank you so much for doing this.
absolutely. Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. Well, I saw something online and it says prayer can also be used for a time of families to share and process personal challenges. It is a powerful arena for providing and receiving social support. Do you think that this is true when it comes to praying with your family?
Yeah, I think it was interesting when we used to pray with our kids, and sometimes they would ask us to pray for somebody's hamster or somebody's grandmother was sick or something. But those kind of things, or whether it was something that we wanted to all pray about together as a family, it unites us. It puts us all aware of what God's doing and putting God in the middle of your family. And so I think it's really good. I think it's true. And I think God just shows up in those times. He wants that relationship with us. He wants us to come to Him with things. And I think, we know how He feels about children. Jesus was very clear about that, of how precious children are to Him. And so when our kids are praying and we're praying with them, I think that's just a really special thing.
Oh, absolutely. And then as a family, for you and Nancy, when did you guys start praying?
Our wedding night. So
I love
that
that
was
story so much.
it's a story people have heard a lot of times, but we really did, and it was all Nancy's idea. And we may have prayed some before then, but just as far as really intentionally beginning to pray together as husband and wife, it really was on our wedding night, and we've really prayed probably 99% of the nights since then. So it's been something. It's kind of worked in, like you feel like you're going to bed without brushing your teeth or something if you don't pray. That's probably
Yeah.
not good enough. Praying and brushing your teeth. But I mean, it's one of those things you get into, and you just what you do. And I think that's one of the best habits that we can get into as a couple. And so each couple needs to find out what works for them. Some people I know pray in the morning. Some people pray after the kids go to school. Some people pray. I mean, there's no perfect time. Going to bedtime, since we've always gone to bed at the same time, has always worked well for us.
So there's no perfect way to pray. We can pray if we're, standing up, brushing our teeth, or if we're laying in bed, closing our eyes, or if we're on our knees kneeling. There's no perfect way to pray.
No, I
Do
think you just want to go from your heart, and wherever you are, it doesn't matter. I've got, sometimes I'll pray when I'm driving with my eyes open. Don't drive and pray with your eyes closed. I mean, that's really testing God a lot. That's asking a lot. But But yeah, and I think people get hung up on that or think they can only
I
pray
do.
in
I
church
agree.
or this kind of thing. And so I think knowing that, you know, the part of God is just his holiness, but he's also our best friend. And
Yes.
Jesus showed us that. So I think the more we talk to him just as a friend or as our father that loves us unconditionally, I think that's where the relationship gets, for me, gets to. And I don't, a lot of written prayers, I think some are really nice and I've used at times, but it generally, I feel closest when it just comes from my heart.
Yeah. I love that. So say I'm a new mom. I just, I had just had a kid. They're turning 3 or 4 in a couple of months. And my husband and I have always been, really good at praying together, but I've never prayed with my child. How do we start praying together? Is there a good way to do this? Is there a right way to do this? Or do we just sit down and just pray?
I think one thing, I think bedtime's usually a good time to begin to do that because that's usually a time that, if you've got more than one kid, you're probably both helping get the kids in bed, as long as your schedules allow for that. So I think that was kind of always our go-to time. We would pray, when our kids were babies, we would pray over them, just as they slept, which was really cool. I loved doing that.
Yeah.
But then as they got older, we'd say prayers with them. And sometimes, even before they could probably talk, but they'd watch us do it and they would, they may not say anything, but they'd fold their hands or something like that. And it was good. So we tried to make it just a part of our life and praying before meals and then praying at bedtime. It got more of a challenge the older they got, as
Yeah.
teenagers and stuff like that. But we tried to instill those things early on and make that a regular part of our life together.
I love that so much. And then did that just go black? Did the screen just go black? Sorry.
No, we just had a little pause there, but that's okay.
Okay. It says that one study found that children with parents who pray more than once daily report better relationships with their parents, even if that prayer is not done with their children, implying that there is something contagious about the positive effects of prayer in family life. And I think that this just goes back to what you just said. They saw what you guys were doing and they just wanted to start doing it with you. Just kind of like that contagious, just like, oh, I want to do this. They're doing this. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I think that that's really cool.
No, I think it would, and I think gives God some things to work with. Not that he can do without us, but he chooses to do
Yeah.
it with us. And so he
Yeah.
begins to work through that. Absolutely.
Do you think that prayer comes easy for everybody, or do you think that it's challenging for some people?
Oh, I think it's challenging. I think a lot of times, and I think the enemy uses that against us. Sometimes people's guilt, I have people that I've seen in counseling that have been, maybe they've done some horrible things in their life and so on, and they just can't understand God's grace and mercy and how we forgive them. And so they are not afraid to come to you. They don't feel like they're worthy of
Yeah.
coming to God. And I think helping people get past that and knowing that, some of the people in the Bible, David's always a great example of someone who committed adultery and he also committed murder, and yet he was still a man after God's heart. God will forgive everything, and so I think we've got to get that barrier out of the way. And then I think it's just, sometimes you feel like you got to pray like a pastor or a priest or whatever, and you
Yeah.
really don't. It's just, I would tell people all the time, just talk to him. That's what he really wants. And he knows what's going on in our mind anyway, so just talk to him. I think it makes a huge difference.
So if someone is struggling right now with trying to pray and they just are having no words or having a hard time, would you recommend just spending just quiet time in the mornings, just every morning until they get more comfortable? What steps do you think
Yeah,
they
I
should?
start something easy like on the YouVersion app. You could just read the verse of the day, which is usually takes 5 seconds, and you
Yeah,
could just say, "God, I don't have a clue what I'm doing here, but I want to get to know you better, and just help me."
I love
Period.
that.
Just see
Yeah.
what he does. You start very, very simple, and I think that's true. Sometimes we think we have to be all holy before we come to our God. Some of my closest times with God is when I was at my lowest because He was there when I needed Him.
I love that. That's good. And it's so true. It really is so true. Well, if you guys don't know what the YouVersion app is that Dr. Kim mentioned, it's just an app by YouVersion. You can just go to your apps and then just type in YouVersion and it will pop up. There are so many plans from Awesome Marriage that, a lot of people have written, and they are so good and they're so good to do with your spouse. So we highly recommend doing that. But if you guys have not checked out our new resource, you can find it on the Awesome Marriage website. It's available today. You can receive it just by donating any amount. And that is unfortunately all the time that we have for today. But if you have any questions for Dr. Kim, please feel free to contact us. You can send us a direct message and we'll get back to you next week. Thank you guys.
Have a great week.